becomes more and more crucial. And supporting the community that does this analytical and research work and providing a platform for debate is the purpose of the conference. Organized crime is having huge impacts and causing multiple harm around the world, to development, to economic growth, to individual people's life chances. But it's also distorting democracy and causing great harm and polarization in many societies. The impact on sovereignty and national security is evident, from the crisis in Haiti to the widening gap between criminality and state resilience in many regions. State-embedded actors remain amongst the most damaging drivers of criminality. It is increasingly clear that given the scale of the problem, that current mechanisms and tools are no longer adequate. At international, national, regional, local level, we are constrained in our ability to fight organized crime because we need higher levels of innovation, better levels of cooperation, and we need to bring a diverse set of players around the table. That, of course, includes governments in all their spheres, including law enforcement, the private sector, civil society, and many others. And all of this is necessary to develop a more coherent and responsive view. From the research perspective, there's a very important role to play by analysts, researchers, scholars working in a plethora of organizations to put their ideas on the table, not only in terms of analyzing organized crime, but coming up with new and innovative solutions to respond to it. This conference is strongly, but not solely, focused on bringing the latest academic discussions to the forefront and ensuring that they are part of policy debates. And we need to ensure that research addresses the key issues affecting communities that are often hard to reach, excluded, in fact, or plagued by insecurity. And this is where we see GI-TOC as serving as a bridge, bringing granular, rigorous research to policy and academic discussions while ensuring broad stakeholder engagement. OC24 has always been about connections between different subject areas, but also connections between different regions and countries around the world. It's really a space to have open discussion on new issues in the organized crime debate and on effective responses. So whether you're coming to present a paper, to respond to a paper, to moderate, or just to listen in, you are contributing to a growing and dynamic community of practice. So over the next 16 hours, I encourage you to listen in, present, participate, and engage with people putting forward ideas. And together, we can push forward our understanding of organized crime and responses to it. Doing so, again, is an essential component, not only of understanding organized crime, but more importantly, driving a discussion about what may be done to respond to a very, very complex issue embedded in the political economy of many societies and regions around the world. So, welcome to OC24.
All right. Thank you for sharing that video. I hope that we all have a better understanding now of this conference and both its past and what we're going to be doing today. So the discussion today at this panel is regarding opportunities and challenges for civil society working to reduce the harm to environmental crime in Asia and the Pacific. It's very pertinent to discuss opportunities and challenges right now. That's for a number of reasons. Just this year, civil society in small island Pacific states forged new legal opportunities by advocating to the International Court of Justice to issue an advisory opinion on fossil fuel consumption. Their efforts led to a high-level outcome. The ICJ issued an advisory opinion recognizing that continued fossil fuel consumption, production, and exploration was harmful, and they endorsed the view that states could seek action and reparation over climate damages. But it was the lead up to this decision that was paved by the hard work of civil society. Vanuatu and other Pacific Island nations campaigned tirelessly for this advisory opinion by mobilizing over 1,000 civil society organizations globally to present oral and written testimonies to the court. Nonetheless, civil society is confronted with grave challenges. First, civic space is shrinking in many countries across Asia and the Pacific, and with it, opportunities for associational life that make teamwork possible. Environmental activists have been imprisoned in Cambodia for exposing corrupt and destructive sand mining and illegal logging practices. In Vietnam, nonprofit workers have been arrested and charged with trumped-up tax violations. Their nonprofit organizations pressured to close merely for daring to express their freedom of opinion for a more environmentally friendly development. And a report by Global Witness called out Philippines for having the highest rate of murders of environmental defenders. These are environmental crimes, and they are grave challenges. And second, the second challenge is by the extreme climate and weather events that are increasingly affecting our communities. And on this note, I would like to draw our attention to the flooding across Southeast Asia. Thailand, Malaysia, and the Philippines have recently been affected by severe weather and torrential rains. Cyclone Senyar caused landslides and flooding in Sumatra, Indonesia, destroying homes and taking the lives of hundreds of individuals. These are not far-off events. They are close to home. One of our speakers here today, from Bitra, operates in North Sumatra, where communities have been affected. I would like us to be considerate by thinking of the families and those who are grieving at this time. Environmental issues impact our lives and societies. While we may not always feel that environmental issues impact us daily, when the time of need comes, our ability to adapt and respond to shocks, our resilience, is formed through the culmination of our civic and associational practices. Civil society frequently drives the hard work of building ties between communities and government. Civil society conducts team-building activities and the joining of hands to make communities cleaner, safer, more sustainable, and without criminality. And civil society serves as a vehicle for individuals looking to be civically involved, holds government accountable, and it upholds obligations under international law and to apply due diligence standards, just like when civil society in the Pacific advocated to the International Court of Justice. Our conversation today focuses on both those opportunities and the challenges that civil society faces to reduce the harms of environmental crime in Asia and the Pacific. And the conversation has been formulated around the experiences of the panelists and their professional competences and knowledge in fighting environmental crime. Civil society plays a critical role in fostering resilience to environmental crime in Asia and the Pacific. All too often, it is the lives and livelihoods of local communities that are first and most affected by environmental crimes like illegal logging and wildlife trafficking. Communities experience crime as the appropriation of their land, the unsustainable destruction of their environment, and the loss of their ways of life. As such, civic actors that are part of and represent affected communities have a vested interest in building resilience, civic culture, and advancing change. As frontline actors and change makers, civil society are the ones who create and implement the crime prevention, due diligence, and risk mitigation and targeted advocacy programs that adapt and respond to the drivers and enablers of criminality. Civil society responses offer transformative and adaptive potential to make stronger, more resilient opportunities. This panel explores those opportunities and the challenges that civil society in Asia and the Pacific face in their work to counter environmental crimes. We're going today to provide a space for change agents to share their expertise and experiences, and in raising awareness on the harms faced by each of their communities. I'm excited to introduce you to our distinguished panelists, each of whom has substantial knowledge and experience on the topics that they are going to share about. We've also, in organizing the panel today, strived to have a regional representation. Each of our panelists hails from civil society across Asia and the Pacific, and each of them is a recipient of the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crimes Resilience Fund, and their grants have focused on issues of environmental crime. They all have distinguished backgrounds in countering environmental crime and promoting conservation, collaboration, and sustainability as civil society practitioners. First is Jeremy Phan, Director of the Laos Conservation Trust for Wildlife. Originally from the United States, Jeremy has lived in Laos for 7 years. And as the Director of Laos Conservation Trust for Wildlife, he has led efforts in wildlife rescue, rehabilitation, and conservation across Laos. He works closely to form collaborations across civil society, government, and rural communities to strengthen enforcement and development practices. Jeremy will discuss today combating illegal wildlife trade through civil society empowerment, outreach, community, and support. Our second speaker is Edward Huitaro, Program Manager of Solomon Island Rangers Association. Edward is joining us from the Solomon Islands, and he is the Program Manager there. He previously served as a conservation advisor for numerous associations and foundations, and he holds a certificate in climate change and water from Griffith University and a bachelor's from the University of South Pacific in Fiji. A key priority of Edward's is to pass on both scientific and traditional conservation methods to the youth. His presentation today is about bridging the gap between rural people and policymakers in the logging practices in Solomon Islands. Finally, Rustiana, the Director of Bitra Indonesia. Bitra Indonesia's primary activities are conducted in North Sumatra province, specialized in implementing programs. Bitra envisions an Indonesia that is empowered, inclusive, and environmentally just. And they do this by empowering marginalized communities and vulnerable groups in rural and forest areas, advocating the rights and policies for more sustainable ecosystems. We are lucky to have Rustiana with us today. Her presentation is about building multi-stakeholder collaboration to combat environmental crimes in Langat Regency, Indonesia, and she'll be joined with us by two of her staff and colleagues, Erica and Ade. Finally, myself, I'm moderating the session. I'm the Grants and Resilience Officer at the Global Initiative, and I am quite passionate about building strong civil society across Asia and the Pacific. I hold a master's in Southeast Asian Studies from a proudly Pacific university, the University of Hawaii at Manoa. Each participant will have between 15 to 17 minutes to speak. Following presentations, we will have a Q&A session. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I will be monitoring the chat. However, we will hold the questions until the Q&A session, and then we can ask and discuss then. We do want to make the session as collaborative as possible, so you are welcome to think of and ask questions. All right, and I will pass it over to Jeremy on that note.
All right, let me go ahead and share my screen with everyone. If you give me just 1 second, please. And then just give me a thumbs up, Tyler, if you can see that. It's good.
Yep, I can see it.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Thank you, Tyler, for the introduction. As he said, my name is Jeremy. I am the director here at the Lao Conservation Trust for Wildlife, or LCTW. Today, I'm going to be speaking about combating the illegal wildlife trade through civil society empowerment, outreach, and community support. It is a little bit of a different topic than I usually give talks on, and because I usually talk on the animal side. So I am quite excited to be able to talk on more of the human side and what we're doing to reach out to these communities and get them involved in the work that we're doing here at LCTW. So first, I'm just going to go into a little bit of the background here, talking about LCTW's vision. So what we would hope to see in Laos one day is basically a thriving country where biodiversity is safeguarded, animal welfare is respected, and conservation is embraced as part of the national identity. I think many of us know that the behavior towards animals in Southeast Asia is a little bit different than what maybe some of us are used to in Western countries. So really trying to make a behavior change on how animal welfare is considered and how that can become part of the culture here. And then our mission is to safeguard Lao wildlife by addressing the illegal wildlife trade, essentially at its roots. And this is through education, awareness, and enforcement. We work jointly with a variety of stakeholders, from INGOs to local NGOs to governments, through embassies, and all of this while we're also rescuing, rehabilitating, and releasing wildlife that are affected through the illegal wildlife trade. Another part of our mission is to build capacity for our staff to do outreach, collaborate with different people, communities, and then also to just make a lasting change here in the country of Laos. Just some photos for you guys. So this is some of our work when we are rescuing wildlife. We rescue all different kinds of taxa here, as long as they are a Lao native species. So you can see we have pigtail macaque, baby gibbons, baby langur, baby leopard cat. There's a bear in one of the cages. And then we also have some pangolins here, which are the #1 trafficked mammal in the world. So we do cover a large scope of species that we are protecting and that we are trying to work with the government to get confiscated and rehabilitate and back into the forest. So let's talk a little bit about the illegal wildlife trade in Laos. So unfortunately, Laos is kind of known as a transit point for the illegal wildlife trade, as we are surrounded by many countries that are interested in a lot of the species that either Laos has or that other countries have, and then they're being trafficked through the country of Laos due to the relatively easy border crossings. Laos is part of the Golden Triangle as well, which I know many of you know about the Golden Triangle, and it's well known for its trafficking in persons, drugs, and wildlife. So this is up in the northern of Laos and is a special economic zone as well. So there's a lot of trafficking issues around that in particular. And then we're also looking at the illegal wildlife trade in terms of how it impacts livelihoods, the health and economic security of people in the country, and trying to better understand that, and also trying to get people to understand a bit more about that, because it is a difficult topic to see when you're looking at your everyday life and, trying to feed your family. You're not really necessarily thinking about the environmental impacts or how that's going to affect generations ahead of you. And then also, in terms of the illegal wildlife trade, Laos does have legislation protecting wildlife. So we do have the Lao Wildlife Law. There's also a list of wildlife in different categories that are protected under this law. The legislation is there, however, the enforcement is not always as strong as it can be. And the legislation also sometimes is a bit broad. So one example of that would be talking about category 1 species that maybe are highly protected, or category 2 species, but then also speaking about a hunting season for some of the animals, but not being specific on when this season is and when you're allowed to hunt animals and things like that. So just simply saying there's a hunting season, but with no knowledge of actually when that is, can be quite difficult for everybody to understand, and even more difficult for those people who aren't privy to the laws like many other people are. So this is one thing that we're also trying to spread awareness about and help people understand, and also for us to understand as well, and questioning the Lao government so that we can improve things like the Lao wildlife law. Okay, so that's, yeah, a little bit background about the illegal wildlife trade in Laos. It is quite prevalent. As I mentioned, we are surrounded by the other countries around us. So China, Vietnam, a lot of the animals that are leaving Laos are going to these countries, or a lot of animals that are being transited through the country are actually ending up in Vietnam and Laos. There's also a large pet trade in Thailand where we're seeing animals going through the border over there. So we're kind of, like I said, just in that middle, where a lot of animals are just moving throughout the country, even if they didn't originate here to begin with. And then just a quick one about our strategic priorities here at LCTW. So we're kind of multifaceted. We do a lot of different things: education, engagement. We combat the illegal wildlife trade, of course, rescue, rehab, release, forest protection and research, One Health. We have a wildlife veterinary clinic on site that we can rescue animals and then help with zoonotic diseases, try to catch them early, and then conservation breeding programs. So essentially, our thought in this is that education helps to fuel the prevention of the illegal wildlife trade. And then the prevention will then reduce the need for rescue, which would be amazing. And then, of course, through research and education, that will help strengthen our outreach and our reintroduction success as well. So kind of a holistic approach to conservation for wildlife here in the country. So honing in kind of on that community outreach aspect, looking at our education and engagement, we do quite a few different things when it comes to this. So we do community events where we actually get to bring people to our center. I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. We do tours for guests. So these are obviously paying guests, but they come to visit. They learn about wildlife. They learn about the illegal wildlife trade in Laos, what our center does. We have a volunteer program as well. So again, this is bringing tourists and giving them the knowledge about maybe not just what's going on in Laos, but also animal welfare issues like elephant riding and things like this. We run the wildlife medicine course with 2 other centers here in the country, and that is through the National University of Laos. We also do education on social media posts. We have government training programs, internship program for Lao youth, and educational signage on site. So when we do have visitors, and then school visits, whether that's local schools or international schools. So we're really trying to do quite a bit of education and engagement when it comes to the guests that come to LCTW. And here are just some photos of some of our events that we've had. So you can see the top left one was actually a community event. This was funded by the Resilience Fund. It was our first one that we have ever done at our new site because we actually had to relocate. The photo next to that is a government training. So this was great. We had government officials basically catching stuffed animals, showing them how to properly handle them and everything, which was really nice. This is a local school outreach program where we brought local students to the center. And then more, this is Youth on a Mission. So Lao Youth Program came to visit the center as well, learn about wildlife. So yeah, quite a few different things here going on. And then, so looking at civil society in the role of basically illegal wildlife trade and what we're dealing with here at LCTW. So when we're looking at it, essentially you can think of civil society as affecting community. The community can then help to affect the government, and then that's when we can actually have a big impact. So that's kind of what we're trying to do by empowering the local communities here and get them to speak up a bit more and become basically the bridge of that gap between the communities and the government. So one of the things that we do is we run the wildlife crime hotline here in the country. So anybody in the country can call us and they report wildlife crime to us. And then we then have to report that to the government. And by giving the government the information, action can then be taken. And we're able to kind of take out that anonymity part for the people who are doing the reporting, so that they don't feel like they're going to get their neighbors in trouble, or that they're going to cause some problems for other Lao people, because that is a big concern here for people. And so that way they can go through us, and then we can give that information to the government, and they can stay anonymous, so they don't have to worry about any of that, which is really nice. So LCTW's approach, I hit on this already a little bit, but I'll go a little bit more in depth. So what we're looking at a lot that we're doing recently are the community outreach programs. And a lot of this we're able to do because of the Resilience Fund. So we're able to bring in the local communities that surround Pukekohe National Park, which is the national park that we're located right on the edge of. And we're able to bring these people into our center and have our local staff speak with them, get them excited about LCTW now being part of their community, educating them about wildlife, and educating them as well about the importance of biodiversity, and making sure that the forest stays healthy, so that if the forest is healthy, then they can thrive as a family, their livelihood isn't threatened, they're protected against things like floods and landslides and all of this by keeping the trees in the forest and all of that type of stuff. So it is, and we have been affected, not nearly as bad as some of the other areas, but earlier this year we've had some quite bad flooding as well, just in our area. And we're right on the edge of the mountain, far away from any big river, but even our river has raised a lot. So we're still seeing a lot of the effects as well. And then, as I spoke about a little bit, we have our wildlife crime hotline. We're also doing social media campaigns. I know in Southeast Asia, social media, well, all over the world, I shouldn't just say Southeast Asia, social media is huge. And especially for us here in Laos, Facebook is where a lot of people get their news. So we're looking at putting these advertisements essentially out for Facebook users in Laos, and basically promoting our hotline so that they know they can call us, give them an outlet for reporting things like wildlife crime, or even asking us questions that they may not understand, because a lot of them ask us, whether it's legal or not legal to keep animals. And then we've also been doing some advertisements about the Lao wildlife law, because that's not disseminated very well amongst the local population. So also helping with that. And Lao has a very large range of ethnic groups here in the country. Unfortunately, we are not able to cover all the languages, but we do some of the prominent ones. So with Lao and Hmong being the most prominent here in the country. So we're putting our advertisements in those languages. And then we also have a dedicated wildlife rescue hotline coordinator. So he helps to organize all of this, talk to the people that are making the reports, and then also report this to the government, strategically work with the government to get the animals confiscated and brought back to hopefully LCTW or released directly back into the forest. And then the last one that we're working on right now, actually with our Resilience Fund grant, is actually these info corners that we're putting in 6 village offices, and also one very large temple as well. And so these are not the translated versions, because everyone here is speaking English, but this is basically just explaining who we are, and then also a big banner about the Lao wildlife law so that people can understand it. And then the QR codes are so people can scan them and actually see the entire law if they're interested in more. So these are things that we're going to put up so that at the village offices, when people visit, they actually have the information instead of not knowing whether or not they can hunt or what species they are allowed to hunt and things like that. So some lessons learned through doing these these community events and all of the education and outreach and social media. And in-person engagement builds trust and genuine interest, which means when we're bringing people here, we really see that you're impacting them more than seeing something online or not giving them that personal experience. I think being able to bring them here, they see wildlife, they get to see them in big, beautiful forested enclosures. It really gives them an experience that shows them, okay, this is how wildlife should be. If they can't be in the wild, they shouldn't be in tiny cages. They shouldn't be trafficked or anything like this. I see my time's running out, Tyler, don't worry. Local staff at the forefront, of course. Obviously, I'm from the US. I've lived in Laos for 7+ years now, but nothing is as effective as having the local staff be the ones who carry that passion to our community outreach programs and having a Lao person speak to Lao people and explain to them, why biodiversity is important and all of that type of stuff. So it's really good for us because we have very passionate people that work here at the center, and they're able to bring that passion to the programs that we have. Online campaigns are effective. We have a lot of feedback. We've also gotten a lot of followers, which means our audience is bigger. And especially for these things like our wildlife crime hotline and small snippets about the wildlife law. And then again, this is talking about online campaigns as well. So we've seen the visibility of LCTW go up quite a bit. Looking ahead, we just want to continue to expand our outreach programs for local communities, strengthen local champions, continue to advertise our wildlife hotline, because as soon as we started doing that, we started to get more and more tip-offs and we're able to rescue more wildlife. And then integrate awareness with livelihoods and local priorities. So really looking at, especially the communities around us, what they need out of LCTW and kind of how we can work with them so that we can all become one and help to protect the wildlife here. So yeah, together for Lao Wildlife. And then I'll just end it here because I'm about at 17 minutes. So thank you all very much. I appreciate it. Take a quick screenshot of my email if you want to follow up with anything. And yeah, we'll hand it to the next panelist.
Thanks a lot, Jeremy. Very great presentation. Next up, we're going to have Edward from Solomon Islands Ranger Association. I hand it over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Tyler, can I have a few minutes to look at my PowerPoint? Sorry,
I can see your screen, but it just shows Zoom. Maybe pull up PowerPoint.
yeah. Where is it?
Just one moment here for those who are watching. We're just pulling up the PowerPoint right now so that we all can see the visuals. So we're back to seeing your screen again. Is it down there at the bottom on the, can we click PowerPoint at the bottom maybe?
Wait, come again. Oh,
Oh,
I'm lost, Tyler.
can you stop sharing? Maybe I'll try to share for you.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So just turn off the share. I'm gonna share. All right, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you say next slide, then I'll click to the next
Okay.
slide.
Okay. Yeah. So this is basically my presentation for this very important discussion. Yeah. As Tyler already mentioned in the introduction, I was doing this project. We call it the bridging the gap between the rural people and the policymakers in the logging process in Solomon Islands. So as you can see on the slide, there's a photo showing the devastating state of some of the logging places in Solomon Islands. And Solomon Island Ranger is one of the CSO currently working on the conservation initiatives in the provinces, especially the 9 provinces in the Solomon Islands. So what we were trying to do was like going down to the village and reaching out to the people and trying to educate them on their environmental rights and all that. So that's basically what we were doing over there. Okay, next slide. Yeah, so when it comes to environmental crime issues, we see this as one of the pressing environmental issue, especially the logging activity that is currently taking place now and in the past in Solomon Islands. And it really affects the Solomon Island communities, especially when we look at the corrupt practices and the deals that is happening uh, in the community, especially with the resource owners, people who own these resources. Yeah. There is often intertwined illegal exploitation of natural resources, especially with logging and mining. But in our implementation last year and early this year, we were focusing more on logging. And this really undermines the local livelihood of the people in the community, as well as our cultural practices, and even the national security of rural populace who are living outside in the remote localities. And we also see that there is a entwined human trafficking and labor exploitation happening in this space, especially in this logging industry. And we feel and we see this as a unique and severe aspect as it links between the environmental crimes and the human rights abuses that people normally experience every now and then. Their resources, especially the environment, was destroyed. Their rivers and all these resources that they depend very much on for their livelihood in the village. And we also find that, I mean, this is very obvious now. If you can see these 2 photos from the log bond, in one of the remote community in the provinces, and this is where I come from the locality I come from. So this was 10 years ago, and the photos of this log bone. So what really comes out clear was a forced kind of labor was happening, and also sexual exploitation of women and young girls, especially in the logging camps, and the log bones where the companies is located. So those are basically what we term as environmental crime issues that hinge to logging operations that is happening in the past and even now here in Solomon Island. Next slide. Yeah, so Solomon Island Rangers as a CSO or civil society organization, we try our very best here to work with the communities and the people in this country, at least to encounter some of these environmental crimes. So since our area of work is much more on environmental protection, we feel that this is a right kind of approach that we take with the community. So since we are just a CSO, we operate based on our partnership with other partners, the CSOs as well, and other international NGOs and donor partners who are supporting our area of campaign and advocacy. So here in this photo, we were doing a partnership with one of our national CSO, we call Network for Indigenous People Solomons, and they were focusing on human rights. So when we were doing conservation awareness based on the environmental rights of the resource owners, we also integrate this network with us. And this is one of the photos that we took with this group in one of our sites that we were doing awareness. So Solomon Island Rangers, in reality, we were focusing on building a local capacity for conservation, and we also try as much as possible to get information on some of the breaches that had happened in the community. And we want to promote sustainable practices, especially in the logging operation processes, because as I said, it's very obvious in the community where the maximum benefit is not what the resource owners are getting out of this industry. But all they realized was the environment was damaged and destroyed, and all the resources like these trees were taken away with limited and little return. So that's basically what we were doing. So as our approach to encounter some of these environmental crimes. Yes, next slide. Hello. Yeah, so we also realized that many communities in Solomon Islands also currently, apart from some of these issues that is already, with other issues that is already at hand, like many of our communities are currently faced with challenge that relates very much to the climate change, vulnerability, economic hardship. That is very obvious. Even from this photo, you can see some of the underdeveloped infrastructures, and even governance issues in the community is affected by the influence of this logging illegal logging operations that is taking place in our community. So here we identify at least three main challenges we find as a CSO moving around to our community. So the first one we identified was the climate change and natural disaster, where Solomon Island is highly vulnerable to rising sea level since we are an island nation, and a lot of coastal erosion is taking place, and a lot of floodings and we are also in a cyclone region, so we often have had the experience of these cyclones all this. So these disasters and climate change also threaten our food security as well, and even the freshwater supply in many of our communities, especially the villages and the communities that are living along the coastlines. And many of our homes were also destroyed from the high sea level, and even from the disasters like the floodings. Yeah. And with the low-lying atolls, many of the islands in the Solomon Islands, a number of our islands or communities are living on low-lying atolls. Yeah. So they are also at the risk of becoming uninhabitable in the next 5 to 10 years now. And this will also lead to internal migration within the Solomon Island itself from the lower line atolls. Maybe these people are now realizing to move to the main line, the main islands. Yeah. But with that in mind for these villages, the issue of land dispute is also increasing too here within different communities and the islands in the country. And the second challenge we identified from our experience was the economic challenge that is very common here. Solomon Island has been one of the lowest per capita income in the Pacific region. When we talk about the challenge, it means that there is a narrow economic base, yeah, that is heavily depend on the logging operations in the country, and with high rate of youth unemployment and a high dependency on foreign aid, and these are very much a real concern for most of the communities around and the people in the country. And the last challenge we identified during our implementation is the inadequate infrastructures and services in many of our communities, because some of these communities, even looking at that photo, they lack basic services like the household sanitation facilities, and even the electricity and water supply system into the community. So these are some of the challenges in terms of infrastructure facilities in the community. Next slide. Yes, so from our implementation with the community, because Solomon Island Range has been in the country for almost 10 years now, and we also face up with several gaps in terms of resources, support, and data and capacity. And also we have inadequate financial support and technical support as well. And also with this CSO, we also have a weak information management system, as well as we have a challenge in organizational kind of governance. So we have several caps in terms of resource and support. So basically, as an organization at the moment. Solomon Island has been working to develop a financial sustainability plan. We are trying to indicate an ongoing need for long-term funding. So like when we receive this resilient fund, we find it really good to support our work as we continue to do our advocacy and awareness in the community. But the funding was just a small grant, so it's just a 12 months kind of implementation. So we only do it within that time frame, and after that, then we continue to look for other areas of our projects activities. So that is one of the areas that we feel that it is one of our caps in terms of resources. And the other one was the logistic challenge. Yeah, this is really a real challenge for us. Solomon Island is an island nation, and the remoteness and the dispersed nature of the country's islandness presents high transport costs because we have to travel between islands, which is very difficult in accessing communities. So last year and this year we were implementing this nature tribe project in 2 provinces in Solomons, and we were doing it at these 2 remote communities. And we find out that this is really a challenge because the more a community is remote from the urban, we find that there is a lack of police presence or law enforcement. So in these areas, we can find that a lot of the services that is provided by government is very lacking in this remote community. So there is a vulnerability of environmental crimes because of government presence was not there. Yeah. And even the law enforcement tracking, like Solomon Island Rangers Association, we will try to encourage compliance in terms of our environmental protection. But we engage with the rangers that we train them, especially with our affiliated conservation groups around the provinces and the islands. But we don't have the power to enforce laws and to arrest or whatever we might see on the ground. So we have a law and a policy here that only the government officials from the Ministry of Environment and Forestry have enforcement power. So this is one of the lacking kind of challenge. I mean, one of the challenges that is very concerning for us here in Solomon Island.
Edward,
Yeah.
thanks very much. We're a little bit over time. If it's okay, I'm going to hand it over to Bitra, and then we can circle back on any other remaining issues during the Q&A. Is that okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. I should be stopped sharing, so now we're going to hand it over to Bitra, Indonesia.
Okay, Tyler, I will share some screen. Wait. No. Di situ dia jelas. Okay. Oh, okay, sorry. Okay. Ibu Diana can start.
Okay, ready. Good afternoon, Good afternoon, Tyler and other participant conference. My name is Diana from Bitra Medan, North Sumatra, Indonesia. Bitra is a local NGO that empowers marginalized community in village. Bitra become GI-TOC participant for environment crime issue in Langkat District, North Sumatra, Indonesia. Thank you for inviting us to join this conference to share experience working with the community. We from Bitra are here 3% because I need interpreter. Ade, I'm sorry. Nice to meet you, Jeremy and Eddie, and all participant. Saya akan memulai membacakan PPT ini. Jadi kolaborasi kami membuat presentasi dengan judul kolaborasi multi stakeholders dalam memerangi kejahatan lingkungan di Kabupaten Langkat, Sumatera, Indonesia.
Okay, so I will try to help Ibu Diana to translate the presentation. So our topic here is to build multi-stakeholder collaboration to combat environmental crimes in Langkat Regency, North Sumatra, Indonesia.
Ya, next Ade. Jadi Bitra untuk isu kejahatan lingkungan bekerja di kawasan Taman Nasional Gunung Loser. Jadi TNGL ini berada di 2 provinsi, North Sumatra and Aceh, dengan luas 830.260 hektar. Sementara luas TNGL di Kabupaten Langkat 203.000 hektar, yang merupakan wilayah proyek EcoSoc.
Okay, so our work is take place at Gunung Liuser National Park, as you can see in the picture, that spans across North Sumatra and Aceh, which is 2 provinces who next to each other. So the national park itself is covering around 830,000 hectares. But in our work project area in Langkat district, it covering around 203,000 hectares of forest. So in this particular national park, there are 4 key species, which is Sumatran tiger, Sumatran elephant, Sumatran rhino, and orangutan. Next.
Ya, next.
Next.
Jadi kami melihat bahwa di kawasan TNGL ini sudah terjadi kerusakan lingkungan yang berakibat kepada hilangnya tutupan lahan, lalu habitat kunci orang utan, harimau dan badak itu menjadi terganggu, lalu meningkatnya risiko bencana banjir. Kami baru saja dilanda banjir di Sumatera Utara, terutama daerah proyek kawasan Langkat. Dan akibat kerusakan hutan ini juga mengancam sumber kehidupan masyarakat lokal.
Okay, so there are several environmental damage in Gunung Liuser National Park, as you can see in the picture. The first one is a traces of illegal logging that's seen through the remains of felled tree in Gunung Liuser National Park. These pictures were taken by our, let's say, local communities that we are trained. We can explain that in the next slide after. And the next one is a video of the last 1 week situation in North Sumatra, because we have been there have been a heavy rain around 3 to 5 days that makes most of the areas are flooded and have natural disaster like landslides, and road are cannot accessible, so the community cannot help like food and fresh water until now. So if we can play the video, this is just some of the situation that are currently facing the communities in Langkat Regency.
Ini baru saja terjadi.
So this video itself is sent by our community when they already have power supplies and internet access.
Hanya kamu kecil agar kita sadar adalah Dia di atas segalanya.
So the flood itself is over 1 meters high, so they are really facing great danger, and around 700 people are died already in Sumatra. So the next one, after the tree cutting and also the flood, we also have conflicts with elephant. As we can see, there are some rare sites of elephant in national park that were taken by the local community.
Ya.
Let me play it by
Ya, jadi
for you.
karena lingkungan ini sudah rusak, banyak terjadi illegal logging, maka gajah-gajah yang ada di dalam hutan ini menjadi tidak bisa terlindungi. Lalu dia merusak tanaman masyarakat di sekitar lokasi.
Okay, so because of the forest itself is already
Sambil putar video
damaged,
gajahnya.
the herd of the elephant is going to the community's farm and destroy their corpse, like you can see as in the picture in the right below.
Sambil putar video.
Udah tadi.
Video gajah.
Sudah. Next slide, Ibu.
Ya, next. Jadi apa yang dilakukan Bitra untuk memerangi kejahatan lingkungan di Kabupaten Langkat ini? Yang pertama, kami melakukan pengorganisasian bagi komunitas dengan berkoordinasi kepada pemerintah desa agar kami masuk di dalam desa ini menjadi lebih aman.
Semua aja Bu langsung. Nanti ada
Lalu untuk membuat kejahatan lingkungan ini bisa dilaporkan kepada aparat penegak hukum, kami membangun yang namanya online platform sistem informasi desa, seperti web desa yang itu bisa diakses oleh masyarakat. Lalu terkait kejahatan lingkungan, masyarakat bisa menyampaikan pengaduannya lewat sistem informasi ini dan disampaikan kepada aparat penegak hukum untuk dilakukan tindakan.
Okay, so what Bitra do to combat environmental crimes in Langkat district? The first one, we have organizing local communities, so they can take collective action, and after that we make this one system that called SID, or in English we said Village Information System, which is, as you can see, this. So the system itself is contained in the village website, so everyone can report anything regarding to illegal lodging into the website in anonymous, ya Bu, secara anonim.
Ya.
In anonymous, and also we train people for SID training or in village information system training to be the operator of the SID itself, and also this platform can be shared to the government, so the government can see the problem happening in the village itself. Okay, next.
Ya, jadi online platform ini dikelola oleh pemerintah desa dan masyarakat yang digunakan untuk sebagai media pengaduan apabila masyarakat melihat adanya illegal lodging di sekitar desa mereka.
Okay, so the platform itself is built for some complaint mechanism from the community to the government. So it collects all the complaint about the illegal lodging in the village, in the forest, so the government can see and can take action from that. Next.
Lalu pengaduan itu akan dibantu oleh Bitra, dihubungkan kepada aparat penegak hukum untuk diambil tindakan.
Okay, so the complaint itself will be helped by Bitra, so Bitra can, give and communicate with the law enforcement about this.
Ya,
Next.
next.
slide.
Karena isu yang kami kerjakan ini sensitif, maka kami berkolaborasi dengan banyak pihak untuk memerangi kejahatan lingkungan di wilayah proyek.
Langsung aja Bu, langsung aja.
Kolaborasi ini meliputi dengan Gakum Sumatera, dengan masyarakat lokal, pemerintah desa dan organisasi rakyat, NGO yang bekerja di Kabupaten Langkat, juga pemerintah daerah setempat seperti Dinas Pertanian dan Dinas Lingkungan Hidup.
Okay, because of this work itself is quite sensitive issue, so we act to collaborate with other parties, such as you can see here is GAKUM. GAKUM is actually a Directorate General of Environmental and Forestry Law Enforcement, which they take legal action against illegal logging cases. So after that, we also have signing some MOU with the local community, with the local organization, and also some department like agriculture department and also community leaders. Next, Ibu.
Komitmen kolaborasi para pihak ini kemudian kami tuangkan di dalam kesepakatan bersama yang ini sudah ditandatangani para pihak. Jadi ada Gakum, ada pemerintah desa, ada pemerintah daerah dan lain-lain.
Soal NGO-nya, NGO sama lokal media.
Iya, dan
Tadi udah
media lokal juga kami bekerja sama NGO lain. Ini bilang foto kami apa?
Okay, so after we have some discussion and audience, so we have the collaboration and signing the MOU to, you know, manage to together to combat the environmental crime. This also being reported by local media. Sejauh ini sudah apa Ibu? Apanya? Yang diberitakan?
Ya, di platform SID sejauh ini sudah ada berita
untuk local media, for local media.
Media lokal sudah memberitakan beberapa potensi desa dan kejahatan lingkungan, tetapi masih terbatas.
Okay, so actually local media already portraying some of the environmental issue, but it is still restricted because, as we said before, it is quite sensitive issue, and the people behind the illegal logging cases is some of them are in the government itself, so it is quite sensitive and it might harm the people who reporting the cases.
Ya,
Next, Ibu.
ini
Okay, we're going to I'm sorry, we have only 5 minutes remaining, so we're just going to quickly go into question and answer.
Okay.
So I'm sorry about that. I do want to ask one question I've written down really quickly. It follows up on your last point that you just made. This is for both you and for Edgeworth. Who does illegal logging? Who's paying for it? And why does it persist?
Okay. So should we stop sharing the screen, Tyler, or how?
Yeah, we need to move into Q&A.
Okay. Okay, jadi
ini kami baru bisa menduga bahwa illegal logging ini dilakukan oleh korporasi yang didukung oleh pihak yang berpengaruh di daerah itu, seperti pejabat. Tapi kami tidak terlalu berani membuka itu karena kami takut ancaman.
Okay, so we are about your question, Tyler, in Langkat. We still suspect it. We cannot say this is a fact or what. We still suspect it. It is carried out by cooperation around a big corporate and also influential local actors like the local government. So it is not a fact. We still don't know about that yet because it is, like we said, sensitive issue. So it might be harming us if we try to find and to look for it a bit more, so that's quite dangerous for us itself. So it is suspected by the big corporation working with local actors.
Ya, jadi dalam proyek ini kami mengajak masyarakat untuk melakukan pemantauan illegal logging.
Okay.
Jadi hasilnya seperti foto-foto yang tadi ada itu.
So the work we are doing right now is still making the community itself to take some pictures and to make the complaint through SID only at that issue at this moment. We haven't go that far yet.
Lalu kolaborasi kami ini kami bertemu Gakum untuk apa ya, sama-sama berkolaborasi memerangi illegal lodging. Lalu kami berdiskusi dengan NGO setempat bagaimana kejahatan lingkungan ini bisa diurus secara
Okay,
bersama.
so we are actually still on talking stage, let's say, with Gakum and other local NGOs about what work that we can do to combat this illegal lodging. As we said, we cannot do it alone because it is quite a big issue here. Itu dari kita. I hope it answers the question, but if you have another question, it's okay to re-ask. Thank you.
Ya,
Udah, Bu.
udah
I think we have only one more minute, so I'm just going to say thank you for all of the panelists for presenting today. I learned a lot, and I think it was very informative. Okay, we have one question. Do you find difficulty in getting law enforcement to act on information you are able to provide? So the information that you gather, do you have difficulty getting law enforcement to act? Anybody can answer that.
I would
John.
say short answer, yes, from the work that we're doing.
konkret, tapi kita tetap berupaya.
Okay, so as Jeremy said, yes, it is. I think it is quite problem to most of us, right? To get, protection from them and support from them. So yes, it is a solid yes from us too.
Bilang kalau pemerintah kami mendukung illegal lodging,
Yeah, so
nggak ada.
so Ibu Diana said if our government is protecting us, illegal lodging won't be here right now.
Okay, I think we're at time, so I think we're going to wrap it up. So thank you, Edward. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Ristiana, for presenting today and presenting your activism and your engagement.